Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank Sir Roger for that contribution. It's good that that's on record, and I would just add that in addition to that, they got regulatory protection that we still haven't been able to unpick because they haven't been transparent about what they've done. Mr Speaker, I want to respond to the theme of the National Party contributions today, which is to accuse the Labour Party of tax and spend. Tax and spend. They say that whenever the National Party changes a tax from one form to another, decreases income tax, weighted to those best off admittedly, and then increases GST to pay for it, that's a tax switch. But if any other party changes the tax mix, that's spending. That is the essence of their argument in respect of any change to the tax system that the Labour Party might propose. For us to have a change in the tax system is tax and spend. For them, it's a tax switch. Well, we deny that, and I'm sure that the media will see through that it is not true. Anyone who knows Phil Goff knows that the allegation that is least likely to stick to Phil Goff is one of being profligate. He is not a tax and spend person. He is fiscally prudent, as was the last Labour government, who reduced government debt so that we had net positive assets on the Crown by the time we left office, so much so that the Honourable Bill English, when he took office and when the global financial crisis hit, said the government books were in good order. This is the rainy day that the government has been saving for. Of course, it wasn't his government, it was the prior Labour government, and all of those budget surpluses that we ran were opposed by National, who called for unaffordable tax cuts that would have further fuelled asset and price bubbles. The National government has wasted its political capital. We are increasingly seeing commentators saying that. Why do I say that? Some of the government members might ask. Well, the reality is that we have a long-term problem in New Zealand of rising total debt. Only about 10% of its government debt, 90% of it is private. What does the government's budget show? It shows that every year from here on it gets worse. We have a rising current account deficit. Strip out the government reinsurance proceeds coming into New Zealand from the insurers who insured against the Christchurch earthquake. Even this year we have a current account deficit despite flat domestic demand and record commodity prices internationally. And every year hereafter, Mr Bennett, your projections, the government's projections show the current account deficit getting worse, blowing out to 6.9% of GDP by 2015. The net international investment position gets worse every year. That's the measure of how much New Zealand owes to the rest of the world, net of what we own in the rest of the world. And on that basis, we are one of the most indebted countries in the world already. And every year from here, under the settings that the national government has, New Zealand gets poorer. That is projected in this year's budget to go to 85%, negative 85% of GDP by 2015. Mr Speaker, we've had slogans from the National Party. They were said that we would have a better future, that we would have a step change in the economy. They said we'd say goodbye to higher taxes rather than your loved ones. Instead, we've had an increasing wage. We're going to close the wage gap with Australia. We've got a wage gap with Australia that's got bigger and getting bigger. The step change in the economy is not coming. That phrase has dropped from their language. The better future is no longer being promised. So their slogans didn't work. Their policy proposals didn't work either. Mining and national parks, said that was going to make the big difference. They abandoned that. Then they said savings was going to be the centrepiece of the budget this year. And what did they do? They cut KiwiSaver incentives and pretend that they'll have higher rates of KiwiSaver as a consequence. No one believes that. And now they're spinning what it is that they think Labor's going to propose next week. They don't know what it is. But they pretend that for us to have a change in the tax system is tax and spend. What we know is that need to be a fundamental change to the settings of this economy in order to drive the export economy, and we will deliver upon that promise.
Very good. Good speech. David Bennett.